Hey everyone. So I always seem to jump in at really random times, don't I? It's like 10 to 6 on a Friday evening, and no doubt Richard will come in soon and say, "Are you ready?" And of course I'm not. But anyway, I just wanted to jump in and talk about a few little things because it has been quite a while since I jumped in, and don't know if anyone will join me, but do the hashtag replay if you catch the replay. So you'll see I did that post 10 minutes ago, around those vegan brownies. So nice. If you feel like something sweet, but you're trying to avoid, the gluten and the dairy and the sugar and all the things, I suggest you give it a go. So nice with a cup of tea. So anyway, that aside, what I actually wanted to talk about is a few different things. So the first thing is, this whole notion of what my whole group is called, the Reclaiming You. And it's funny because I had advice along the way. So when I've worked with various coaches and things like that, I was advised to change the name. So, Eri, hi, how are you? I've only just started. I was just talking about, you'll see that little vegan brownie recipe I put. So good. If you feel like something sweet, I really suggest you make it. But anyway, that aside, I was just talking about this whole notion, the whole concept of reclaiming you. And it's funny because I was just saying I was advised to change the name of this group several times along the way. And I kind of resisted. I was feeling into it. And I thought, you know what, I really like it because it encapsulates everything that I want to support people with. Because at the end of the day, it's like so many of us have been conditioned to look outside of ourselves. And it's just the way that society is. It's like, we look to our parents, we look to teachers, we look to bosses, we look to peers, we look to the media. Like we're always looking outside of ourselves for the answers, for the solution, for validation, to prove our worth, whatever it might be. And the thing is, what I've realized along the way is the more that we can reclaim ourself, and what I mean by that is reclaim our power, like reclaim our self-worth, reclaim our truth, and it's interesting when I pose that question to people like, what is your truth? What do you stand for? Most people can't give me an answer. And it took me a little while really thinking about it, mulling it over, well, what is my truth? What do I stand for? Like they're kind of questions that are quite simple, yet actually kind of, really quite complex in a lot of ways because, you might stand for, animals in the sense that, you're against animal cruelty, but are you a vegan? Like, are you all in? Like, to what extent are you standing for it? Like, to what extent is your truth? So you can go down the rabbit hole with that one. But, it's really just kind of starting to really, as I said, reclaim your power, your strength, your life force, your why, your passion, your purpose, like your desires, all of that sort of stuff. So that's why I kind of thought reclaiming you is actually really such a good, fit for what it is that I really do like supporting people with. And I think it's just so appropriate, as I said, because we are so used to going outside of ourselves. And that whole notion of self-sourcing, and I spoke about it in a live stream I did several months back. I think it was actually my personal page when I did my 30-day ideas challenge, which wasn't exactly, on 30 days. I did do 30 days, but it wasn't consecutive days. But anyway, I committed to it and I did it. But I spoke about self-sourcing, and what that really is it ties in with all of that. It's just, sourcing your power. Nicolette, hey, how are you? I was just talking about reclaiming you, how it's just that sort of, I was advised to change the name of this group several times, but I really kind of was passionate and really intent on keeping it because of the whole, reclaiming your power, your truth, your self-worth, your why, your passion, your desires, your purpose, all those kind of things. And I was just talking about the whole self-sourcing. I spoke about it in a couple of different live streams, but, the more that we can start sourcing internally, the better off we'll be in so many ways. And that's sort of why, this whole know thyself concept, which is what I've been kind of working with and sitting with and reflecting and meditating on, because the more that we know ourselves, the stronger we are. Like we're in a better position to really be able to, then I guess, feel more like we're in our power and that we know ourselves and that we're, more comfortable with ourselves. We know our strengths, we know our limitations, we know our boundaries, like all that sort of stuff. We know where to work, we know where to decondition, whatever it is. But, it's really, as I said, that kind of that notion more so of just sourcing from internally rather than always going external. And, when I look at some of the various tools along the way that I've acquired, like even more recently, this life path astrology, and I did a few sessions today, I did a few sessions on Wednesday. And what I love about it is it's helping you know yourself better. Because when we start looking at these various placements, like this is your natal chart, like it's unique to you. No one else in the world is going to have the exact same placements, the exact same houses, the exact same planets. No one's going to have that in the same placement that you do. So, when I do these sessions for people, that's what they'll often say, oh my gosh, yeah, like that's exactly where I'm at, or that's where I've been, or that's what I've been thinking of doing, or, it's almost just like validating where you're already at, or what you're already thinking, where you've already been, or where you're moving towards. And then, of course, even from a health perspective, the more you know yourself, Lee, hey, how are you? The stronger you are once again, because it's like, and I know I've spoken about this before, but they go and do research on, for instance, like vegetables. Oh, people that have more vegetables per day, they're healthier and a better outlook, and, it helps prevent chronic degenerative disease. Well, no shit, you know what I mean? Like, I'm sure if we really feel into it, I know myself, I feel better when I have more vegetables. If I go away and I'm eating out more and I'm not eating as much vegetables, I feel it. It's the same with, if I'm having sweet stuff, like I start to, and I don't have blood sugar dysregulation as such, but I can feel the effects. Like I feel like I do get the dips, almost like a little bit of a hypoglycemia. So, the more that you know yourself and you're in tune with your body, it's the same with even like your menstrual cycle. And I know there's some guys in this group, but it's predominantly women. But, I remember over the years, I've had people that have come to me that I've asked them about their cycle and they really can't tell me much about it at all. And I think that's kind of sad in the sense that, Nilva, hey, how are you? It's like, the more that you know your body, you know your hormones, okay, just before my periods, this happens or whatever it is. It's like, that helps you know when to retreat. Or, it can help when you're trying to work out, well, if I'm always getting these symptoms around this time and, maybe I'm lower in progesterone or whatever it might be, So the more, as I said, you're knowing yourself from that perspective, like getting in tune with your body, it's going to help you to know how to best eat or to best move or, best sort of treatment for you for where you're at. And even when you look at things like Ayurvedic medicine, so, sometimes when I do consults with people, I will ask them that, jump online, look at your dosha in terms of your predominant dosha. So there's all those dosha quizzes online. And, even just knowing if you're a predominant Vata type, well, great. We know that you tend to be more, fast and a light sleeper. And, it's better for you to be doing more yoga and meditation. If your predominant dosha type is a Kapha, if you want to lose weight, you will need to do exercise most days of the week. It's just working with your body, your constitution, your makeup. And as I said, the more that you know yourself, it's going to help you to know what to do. Because the thing is, there's 40,000 odd different diets out there. And of course, it is a minefield and it is overwhelming. And we don't know which one to go with because it's worked for that person and maybe it's worked for a few others. But who knows if it's going to work for you? And so that's where it's like, if you're knowing yourself and knowing what feels right, knowing what feels nourishing, knowing what might, as I said, make the blood sugar drop or what sustains you or what nourishes you, that's going to help you in so many ways. And even in terms of things like your blood tests, for instance, I've had people that have come to me over the years that haven't had blood tests for many, many years. And I get it. For some people, they don't want to know what could potentially be there. But at the end of the day, knowledge is power, because if we know what's there, we can then work with it, because sometimes it's only like a little slight kind of, tweak that might be needed. Or, as we know, like it's much easier if we catch it sort of early on, because then, it becomes much easier to work with it rather than at a later stage where, it's probably more difficult or more challenging in ways or will take a lot longer. So the other thing is, and I did this post a few days back about being an empath. And it really came through so loudly and clearly when I was meditating and kind of channeling the other day that, for a lot of us empaths, it's like we are so used to kind of taking on so much from other people. It's just the way that we're kind of wired. And often it was interesting. I heard a medium the other day saying that from her experience, people that are empaths have had childhood trauma to an extent. And I kind of really was like, what? But the more I thought about it, I thought, yeah, I can understand that in different ways, and it was like, because I know that was, that is the case with me in a lot of ways. But definitely that empath, it's almost like when you're so super sensitive to other people's emotions and you feel things when you walk into rooms and, you can't watch TV without starting to feel the emotions, to feel the fear, to feel the grief or the sadness or whatever it else is that the other people there are experiencing. On some level, you can almost like shut down your receiving because you don't want to receive anymore. You've been receiving so much from every direction, bombarded with it, that you shut down your receiving channels. And I mean, we want to be able to receive joy and pleasure and happiness, and whether it's money or clients or, ideas or downloads. So, you can kind of see how, like being that empath or having that tendency, there can be that ability, as I said, to sort of shut down the receiving. It's all too much. And another piece of this know thyself kind of puzzle is human design. I've done a few little trainings. I've got a few different posts on it. Let me know if it's something that you're interested in. Maybe you have been researching it. Maybe you are a human design reader. Maybe you've had your own reading. But it's also really interesting because human design also draws on astrology and the chakras and I Ching and various other kind of modalities that have been around for a long time. And it explains so much for me. So if you haven't yet gone and got your human design chart, it's the same with when you do the life purpose astrology with me. Obviously, you need your date of birth, time of birth, and place of birth. And with that information, online there's Jovin, JOVIN.com, and you can get your free sort of human design chart there. There's also My Human Design. There's, I think, My Body Chart. There's a few different places that you can go and get your free, graph done or your free, chart. And it's interesting. So when you actually have your human design actually done, you'll be able to find out your type, your authority. You'll be able to see. So they have these 9 different, you'll see like little centers here, I suppose you'd call them. And they do draw on the chakras. But what's interesting is you can see that some are colored and some are white. And you find that, if you, for instance, the sacral, which is kind of the life force energy and the motor, one of the most, in a motor center, if you have that defined, you are a generator or a manifesting generator. Manifesting generators have, a path sort of direct to the throat. So, I mean, I'm a manifesting generator. But knowing this piece of the puzzle, like, it really helped me understand that that's why I am the way I am. Manifesting generators are very multi-passionate. So you guys know me by now. I mean, I'm constantly learning new modalities, new, processes and things like that. And it's interesting when you then learn your profile. So I'm a 1-3, and, the 1 is the researcher and the 3 is kind of the experimenter, in the sense that I love researching and learning, and then almost like experimenting and playing around with it and then sharing it with the tribe. And that's so me. And then there's also like the line 2, where there's line 4, line 5, line 6. But it's really interesting because, once again, as I said, once you know some of this, it's like it just explains so much. And going back to that empath post that I did the other day. So, there's a couple of pieces. Karen, hi, how are you? We're just talking about know thyself. So I've already spoken about how, obviously it's like reclaiming your power, your truth. The more that you know yourself, it just sort of helps you regain some of that power and really start to tune into your body and your own inner wisdom. I've spoken about life purpose astrology. I've spoken about health, even just tests and, Ayurveda, and all that sort of stuff. Like, how does different foods feel for you? And I was just looking at human design. I was just saying how you can go and get your chart done. It's free in several places like Jovian.com. And knowing your type, your authority, your profile explains so much. And I was just saying how when you look at the centers, there's the white centers for some, like it depends. Obviously, we're all different because it's done on my date of birth, time of birth, place of birth. So obviously yours will be very different from mine. But we were talking about it just explains things better. And it helped me kind of almost once again validate how I was feeling and why I am the way I am. So I was saying, being a manifesting generator, having this colored sacral motor center, which you can either be a generator or a manifesting generator. When these centers are defined or colored, it means that you have like consistent and predictable energy. Whereas, if it's undefined, it means, it's more situational. And the reason why this has helped me in so many ways know myself better, it's, for instance, if you have a look, so the solar plexus, which you probably can't see it too well there, and excuse all my notes, but it's white anyway. So it's open. So that's my emotional center. So what that means is when I was talking about being an empath the other day, empaths often have this center open. And what that means is, because as I just explained, if it's white, if it's open, if it's undefined, it means it's situational. So I'm going around picking up on other people's emotions. It's not mine. It's not internally generated. And then I'm an amplifier. So, it's like that's sort of why it explained a lot for me. I was like, oh my gosh. And then I've got the defined spleen, which that's sort of to do with your intuition and things like that. And then I've got this open head center, which means once again, situational. So I can be going around picking up on all these ideas, picking up on all this information. Whereas if someone has that defined, it's like they are self-sourcing it. So, it's like if you had that emotional solar plexus center there defined, you're generating that emotion. But what this helped me in so many ways understand was it was like, okay, so my emotional center, my solar plexus is open. It's situational. So if I'm picking up on everyone else's emotions and then I'm amplifying it, so you might be feeling sadness on, say, a scale, 2 out of 10, and then I amplify it. So I start feeling it like 9 out of 10, say. So it's like, and if you've got like a partner or other people in your household that are also the same, you can be picking up on these emotions and amplifying them. They're not even yours. And that also helped me because it's like realizing that's not internally generated, that's someone else's. So it really helped me kind of in ways, as I said, know myself, that, and being able to then tell myself, this isn't even mine. Like I look at my human design, my personal human design, this isn't even mine. It's literally, I picked up on someone else's. So it kind of fits in with that whole empath kind of idea and concept. But it just explains it sort of a lot more. So yeah, as I said, it was sort of one of those things. So also, I have an open root center, which means I can sort of feel pressure more. And it's interesting because I remember I was in a job years ago and I had a boss, 2 bosses actually, like my direct boss and then the boss above her. And I kid you not, they were both running around all the time, like that frenetic energy, like running around like a headless chook. Me with my open root, I used to feel that pressure. I'd take on that pressure. And that's when I ended up with full-blown anxiety and having panic attacks and things like that. And it just sort of, so as I said, the more that you can understand yourself, know yourself, it just helps you kind of almost validate and explain why things are the way they are. And once you know it, well, you can't unknow it once you know it, but it's like, it helps me, as I said, because I can almost just say that to myself, oh, that's not mine. I've picked it up, along the way. And it kind of helps me in a way kind of detach from it, if that makes sense. And it's the same with kind of the whole open head center. It's like, there's ways you can look at it, because it's almost like having that open head center means that I can be picking up on downloads and things like that. So, it's kind of interesting. And then where I've got these defined centers, it means it's more consistent energy. So it's like, it's more predictable. It's where there's more like gifts and talents and strengths and superpowers and things like that. So, having like, some of my centers there, like my throat center. So, or my ajna, which is more the mind and consistent energy in terms of reasoning and rationale and things like that. The consistency in terms of the communications and, the identity center and the willpower, which that's true. Like I've got a lot of willpower. And over the years when I've really wanted something, I will make it happen. I remember like I did my commerce degree over many years and I had to do a lot of it distance because I went from Newcastle Uni to Armidale Uni because I was, changed locations a few times and I wanted to do it distance. I didn't actually want to go in anymore to uni. And, but I had that sort of strength and that willpower just to, to finish it. It's the same with when I had the willpower to, get off chocolate. I got off chocolate for, I don't know if it was 9 or 10 years. Like, I know I've got strong willpower. It's the same with if I start to feel sick. For me, it's mind over matter. I will literally my mind over like the sickness and I will get over it very quickly. Like or I use my mind to do energy, visualizations and healings. But anyway, yeah, it's interesting. It's the same with even the gene keys, which is kind of an extension of that, and I have spoken about gene keys before, but, this fits in with it because, when you look at like your sun sign and your earth sign and, of course, the black side here on the right is the conscious, like the personality, where the red side is the unconscious. It's not known to you. And it's actually sort of 3 months roughly 88 days before you were born when they say the soul entered. So it was like, it's just kind of, and as I said, if you see there, it's got the moon and Mercury and Venus and Mars and all that sort of stuff. So it does draw on astrology. But what I love about it is this is me. Like this is my specific chart, my human design. So I encourage you, as I said, it's like, really, first of all, that whole notion of just reclaiming your power, like your truth, your worth, your why, your passion, and then really starting to know yourself. Stay in your own lane, as they say. Like stop sort of like looking at everyone else and seeing what everyone else is doing and getting caught up in that and letting that weigh you down. Like start really, getting to know yourself. Like, look at your natal chart, start understanding your health, like what feels good for you, what feels expansive, what makes you feel weighed down, is it sugar? Every time I have sugar, it doesn't agree with me. Yes, I know from the research, from everything else, it's not ideal, but it doesn't feel great. So it's like, it's the same with, as I said, the human design, knowing your type, knowing your strategy, knowing your profile, like knowing your your open centers, your defined centers. It just helps you understand yourself more. It helps you understand why things are the way they are. Gene keys, as I said, another piece of the puzzle, helps you to, it's tied in with this, like your life work, what's going to bring you prosperity. Like it's so interesting. So that's sort of why, as I said, I really encourage you to just start to know yourself. And as I said, if you need any support along the way, you know where I am. I do all of these various things. So I can do the life purpose astrology. We can have a health session. We can look at some of these other kind of parts of the puzzle. So you can understand yourself so well. So you can start this whole self-sourcing. It's so important. Like my guidance, every time I do channeling, it's like the more that we can self-source, it's going to help you in years to come because, when there is a lot of fear out there, when there's a lot of, uncertainty, when there's a lot of conflicting information, conflicting agendas, it is really hard sometimes to know what is right, what is wrong, what is your truth. So knowing yourself will help you immensely. So anyway, I've got to go. I'm hearing Richard saying it's time to go and I'm not even ready. So anyway, love you and leave you and see you soon. Bye.